Life has a way of teaching us who we are and who we are not meant to be around. Sometimes you will find yourself wondering why certain people couldn't appreciate you, why they walked away, why they chose to misunderstand you when all you ever did was give them your honesty, your loyalty, and your truth. The answer is simple. You were too real for them. Not everyone is built to handle authenticity. Some people are comfortable living in a world of pretense, where masks are worn and words don't match actions. They smile in your face but talk behind your back. They celebrate your presence but resent your strength. And when you show up as your true self, unfiltered, unshaken, and unwilling to conform to their expectations, they get uncomfortable. Because realness exposes what's fake. Light exposes what's hidden in the dark. You see, when you are real, you don't fit into every room. You don't go along just to get along. You stand firm on what you believe, and you refuse to shrink yourself just to make others feel comfortable. That kind of energy, it's rare, it's powerful, and it's not for everybody. So don't waste your time questioning why they left. Don't sit in regret because they couldn't see your worth. Some people were never meant to go with you to the next chapter of your life. You were sent to wake them up, to challenge their false realities, and when they couldn't handle the truth, they had no choice but to walk away. That's not a loss. That's a lesson. Understand this, your realness is a gift, your authenticity is your power, and the right people, the ones meant to be in your life, will never be threatened by your truth. They will embrace it, respect it, and value it. Until then, keep being exactly who you are. Let the world adjust to your presence. Because the ones who couldn't handle you, they were never meant to stand beside you in the first place. Some people are uncomfortable around those who are real because it exposes their own inauthenticity. When you walk into a room with confidence, when you speak your mind without fear, when you carry yourself with integrity, it does something to the people who have built their lives on pretense. It forces them to see the cracks in their own foundation. It makes them question the roles they've been playing, the lies they've been telling, and the masks they've been wearing. And instead of facing that truth, they reject the one who brings it. They'd rather call you too much than admit they are not enough. They'd rather say you're arrogant than confront their own insecurities, because it's easier to blame the mirror than to fix the reflection. When you're real, you don't just show up. You shift the atmosphere. You bring an energy that cannot be faked, a presence that cannot be ignored. Some people will be drawn to it, inspired by it, motivated to step into their own authenticity, but others will be threatened because your realness demands something from them. It demands honesty. It demands growth. It demands accountability. And not everyone is ready to face that. So they push you away, they criticize, they gossip, they twist your words and turn your strength into a weakness just to make themselves feel more comfortable. But that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. So don't apologize for being real. Don't lower your voice so others can feel bigger. Don't dim your light to make the darkness comfortable. If your presence shakes them, let it. If your truth disturbs them, so be it. Some people need to be shaken before they wake up. And if they choose to stay asleep, that's their choice, not your burden. Not everyone can handle the truth. Some people have spent so much time hiding from it that when it finally stares them in the face, they reject it. They convince themselves that you're the problem because it's easier than admitting they've been lying to themselves. When you stand firm on your beliefs, when you refuse to sugarcoat reality, when you call things as they are instead of what people want them to be, you become a threat because the truth forces people to make a choice. They either grow or they run, and most people choose to run. People would rather live in a comfortable lie than face an uncomfortable truth. They would rather surround themselves with those who tell them what they want to hear instead of those who tell them what they need to hear. That's why they turn on you. That's why they reject you. It's not because you were wrong. It's because you were right, and they weren't ready to accept it. The truth strips away illusions. It forces people to see themselves clearly, without the excuses, without the masks, without the distractions. And some people aren't built for that kind of exposure. They'd rather call you harsh than admit they've been avoiding reality. But understand this. Your job was never to make people comfortable. Your job was never to fit into the illusion they created for themselves. Your job was to be real. And if being real means losing people, let them go. If speaking the truth makes you the villain in their story, let them write whatever version helps them sleep at night. Because at the end of the day, the truth doesn't change just because someone refuses to accept it. And the people who truly belong in your life, they won't fear the truth you speak. They will respect it. They will value it. And they will stand beside you, not in spite of it, but because of it. People prefer comfort over growth. Growth requires change, and change demands that you face things you may not be ready to deal with. It forces you to confront your flaws, challenge your beliefs, and step outside of the familiar. And for most people, that is too much to handle. They would rather stay where it's safe, where it's predictable, even if it means living a lie. They would rather surround themselves with people who make them feel good than with people who make them better. That's why when you come into their life with a mindset that pushes them forward, with an energy that refuses to settle, with a truth that demands transformation, they resist you, they pull away, they dismiss you, not because you are wrong, but because you were right before they were ready. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It keeps people trapped in toxic cycles, in bad relationships, in unfulfilling jobs, in friendships that are built on convenience rather than connection. It convinces them that good enough is all they should aim for, that staying the same is easier than doing the work to become who they were meant to be. And when you refuse to settle, when you choose to level up instead of fitting in, they start to resent you, because your presence is a reminder of the choices they are too afraid to make. Your ambition exposes their complacency. Your discipline reveals their laziness. Your confidence makes their insecurities harder to ignore. So they try to bring you back down to their level. They label you as difficult, say you've changed as if growth is a crime. Try to make you feel guilty for refusing to stay in the same place. But that is not your burden to carry. You are not meant to stay stagnant just to make others feel comfortable. You are not built to lower yourself so others don't have to rise. If your growth intimidates them, let it. If your progress makes them uncomfortable, so be it. Because the right people won't resent your evolution. They will grow with you. And those who don't, they were never meant to come with you in the first place. Your presence exposes what's fake. The moment you walk into a room with confidence, with truth, with an energy that is pure and unshaken, something shifts. You don't even have to say much. Your presence alone is enough to make people uncomfortable. Because realness is a mirror, and when people look at you, they see everything they are pretending to be. They see the lies they've told themselves, the masks they've worn for too long, the facades they've built to keep others from seeing who they truly are. And instead of appreciating that reflection as an opportunity to grow, they reject it. They reject you. Because it's easier to avoid a mirror than to admit you need to change. You will notice how certain people change around you, how they become defensive when you speak, how they laugh a little too hard at your confidence, how they twist your words to make you seem like the villain. It's not because you did anything wrong, it's because you did something right. You reminded them of what they are not. You reminded them that they have settled, that they have been performing, that they have been living for approval rather than for purpose. And that kind of realization is too heavy for most people to carry, so they push it away. They push you away. They will call you arrogant, difficult, too much to handle. They will question your motives, mock your confidence, and try to make you second-guess yourself. But that is not your problem, it's theirs. Because realness will always make fakeness uncomfortable. Truth will always make lies fall apart. And light will always expose what was hiding in the dark. So don't you ever shrink to make them feel safe. Don't ever dim your shine to make their shadows disappear. If your presence makes them uneasy, let it. If your truth makes them defensive, let it. Because at the end of the day, their reaction to your realness is a reflection of them, not you. And the ones who truly belong in your life will never be threatened by what is real. They will embrace it, they will respect it, and they will stand beside you, not because they have to, but because they want to. They don't belong everywhere. When you are real, when you carry yourself with purpose, when you refuse to play the games that so many people are comfortable playing, you start to realize that not every space is meant for you. Not every table deserves your presence. Not every group deserves your loyalty. And that's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because your energy, your mindset, your truth doesn't fit where pretense is the norm. You walk into certain rooms and immediately the atmosphere shifts. People look at you differently. They whisper, they get defensive without you even saying a word. Why? Because your presence alone is a disruption. You are not like them. You don't move like them. You don't talk just to be heard. You speak to bring change. You don't chase approval. You live by principle. And that kind of presence is rare, which means it will not always be welcome. Some spaces demand that you shrink yourself just to fit in. They expect you to lower your standards, to dilute your truth, to play along so that everyone can stay comfortable. But you weren't meant to blend in. You weren't built to conform. You were meant to stand out, to elevate, to rise above mediocrity. And when you start realizing that, you will stop trying to force yourself into places that were never meant for you. You will stop chasing people who only tolerate you but never truly value you. You will stop seeking validation from rooms that were never designed to hold your greatness. Because real recognizes real. And where you truly belong, you won't have to fight for a seat. You will be invited to the table. So if you find yourself in a place where you feel unseen, unheard, unappreciated, understand that it's not a reflection of your worth, but of their limitations. If your presence makes people uncomfortable, it's because they were never meant to experience the fullness of who you are. If they reject you, let them. If they overlook you, let them. You don't need to beg for space when you are meant to create your own. Because the right places, the right people, the right opportunities, they won't require you to shrink. They will embrace you, celebrate you, and elevate you, simply because you are exactly who you were meant to be. Loyalty is rare, and when you are real, you will find that many people are only with you for as long as it serves them. They love you when you agree with them, when you go along with their plans, when you fit into their world without challenging it. But the moment you set boundaries, the moment you start thinking for yourself, the moment you stop being easy to manipulate, they change. Suddenly, you're different. Suddenly, you're hard to deal with, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you are no longer convenient for them. And that's the painful truth. Many people don't want relationships, they want control. They want loyalty, but only when it benefits them. They want connection, but only on their terms. The moment you stop being someone they can use, you become someone they discard. You will notice how quickly people's true colors show when you no longer serve their agenda. Friends who once called you family disappear when you stop saying yes to everything. People who once celebrated you turn cold the moment you refuse to play their game. It's not because you changed. It's because they never truly valued you to begin with. They valued what you could do for them. They valued your presence as long as it didn't challenge their comfort. But the moment you stopped being easy to control, they made it clear you were never as important to them as they pretended you were. And that's a hard truth to accept, but it's also a blessing. Because real loyalty is not conditional. Real relationships don't crumble the moment you start standing up for yourself. The people who are meant to be in your life will not walk away just because you set boundaries. They will not turn on you just because you refuse to be used. So when people start falling away, let them. When they switch up on you, let them. Don't waste time trying to prove your worth to those who were never truly with you in the first place. Because the right ones, the real ones, will never make you question where you stand. They will not leave when you grow. They will not betray you when you change. They will walk with you, not just when it's easy, but when it's real. Some people only loved you when they thought you needed them. As long as you were struggling, as long as you were unsure of yourself, as long as you were looking to them for validation, they were there. They liked you when you were broken, when you were dependent, when you second-guessed yourself, because that made them feel powerful. That made them feel important. They didn't see you as an equal. They saw you as someone to control, someone to keep beneath them, someone whose strength was a threat to their illusion of superiority. But the moment you started healing, the moment you found your confidence, the moment you stopped needing their approval to feel good about yourself, everything changed. Suddenly, they weren't as supportive. Suddenly, they weren't as kind. They started questioning you, doubting you, making little comments to shake your confidence. Why? Because your growth exposed their insecurity. Your strength made them feel weak. Your independence made them feel irrelevant. And instead of rising with you, instead of celebrating your progress, they resented it. That's when you start to see the truth. Some people were never in your corner. They just liked feeling superior. They liked being needed. They liked being the one you ran to, the one you depended on, the one who could always say, I helped you. But now that you don't need them the way you used to, now that you stand on your own, they don't know how to handle it. Because your growth took away their control, your confidence took away their ability to manipulate. And people who only loved you for your weakness will never celebrate your strength. So when you notice people pulling away as you step into your power, let them go. When they act different because you've changed for the better, don't chase them. Not everyone who started with you is meant to finish with you. Not everyone who clapped for you in the beginning was truly happy for you. And that's okay. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them misunderstand you. You don't need to shrink yourself just to keep them around. The right people will love you in your power just as much as they loved you in your pain. The right people will not feel threatened by your growth. They will be inspired by it. And those are the ones worth keeping. When you're real, when you're true to yourself, you will notice something. People start to project their insecurities onto you. It's not that you've done anything wrong. It's not that you've changed in a bad way. It's that your very presence forces them to face the things they've been avoiding in themselves. You see, people don't like mirrors. They don't like being reminded of what they lack. They don't like standing next to someone who refuses to settle, someone who pushes forward despite the odds, someone who carries themselves with confidence when they themselves are full of doubt. It makes them uncomfortable. It makes them insecure. And instead of dealing with those feelings, instead of growing, instead of leveling up, they make you the problem. They call you arrogant when all you did was refuse to be small. They say you've changed when all you did was evolve. They accuse you of thinking you're better than them when all you did was start believing in yourself. But the truth is, it's not about you. It's about them. It's about their own fears, their own regrets, their own realization that they could have done more, been more, but instead of taking responsibility, they find it easier to resent you because blaming you is easier than facing themselves. And the hardest part? Some of these people will be the ones you love, the ones you thought would always support you, the ones who were there when you struggled but can't seem to celebrate you now that you're winning. It hurts. It makes you want to explain yourself, to prove that you're still the same person, to convince them that you never thought you were better than them. But listen, real growth doesn't need an apology. Real elevation doesn't require permission. You are not responsible for how other people feel about your progress. If your success, your confidence, your self-belief makes them uncomfortable, that is their burden to carry, not yours. So let them say what they want. Let them believe what they need to believe. Your journey is not about proving anything to people who refuse to see the truth. Your journey is about becoming everything you were meant to be, and the right people, the ones who are truly for you, will never feel threatened by your rise. They will clap for you, stand beside you, and grow with you. The rest, let them talk. Let them watch. But don't you dare slow down. When you're real, you expose what's fake. Your presence alone makes some people uncomfortable, not because you've done anything wrong, but because they can't hide who they truly are when they're around you. They built their lives on pretense, on half-truths, on carefully curated images designed to impress. But then you came along, authentic, raw, unapologetic, and suddenly they felt exposed. Suddenly they had to look at themselves in a way they never had to before. And instead of embracing that, instead of growing from it, they reject it. They reject you. You ever notice how people who wear masks don't like being around those who don't? It's because your authenticity forces them to confront their own deception. They've spent years pretending to be happy, pretending to be loyal, pretending to have it all together. But when you walk in, you bring something they can't fake. You bring depth in a world that thrives on surface-level connections. You bring honesty in a world addicted to lies, and they can't handle it. They can't handle you. So instead of adjusting themselves, instead of facing their own shortcomings, they decide you're the problem. They label you as too much, too intense, too deep. But what they really mean is, I can't hide around you. And that's why they turned on you. That's why they distanced themselves. That's why they tried to discredit you, to make you doubt yourself, to paint you as the villain. Because if they could convince the world that you were the issue, they wouldn't have to face the truth about themselves. But here's the thing. Real ones recognize real ones. And just as you lost some people who couldn't handle you, you will attract those who can. You will find people who don't just tolerate your authenticity, but celebrate it. People who don't just endure your presence, but thrive in it. So stop trying to make the fake comfortable. Stop trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Stop dimming your light to make others feel better about sitting in the dark. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them go, because the right ones, the real ones, the ones who were meant for you, they won't be threatened by your presence. They will be inspired by it. You were too real for them, and that's why they left. That's why they turned their backs. That's why they tried to paint you as the problem. But what they don't realize is that losing them was never your loss. It was theirs. Because they walked away from someone who was loyal, someone who was honest, someone who had gone to war for them. They lost someone rare, someone irreplaceable. And one day, they will look back and realize exactly what they let go. See, when people are used to fake love, real love feels foreign. When they're used to shallow connections, depth scares them. When they've surrounded themselves with people who only tell them what they want to hear, your honesty becomes offensive. But you didn't lose them. They lost you. They lost the person who showed up for them when no one else did. They lost the person who saw past their flaws and still believed in them. So they lost the person who would have never betrayed them, never abandoned them, never switched up just because life got hard. And the thing about real ones, you don't find them twice. They might search for you in other people. They might try to replace you with someone who looks like you, sounds like you, moves like you, but they will never find another you. Because you weren't just anybody. You weren't just another face in the crowd. You were the kind of person who loved deeply, who cared sincerely, who showed up fully. And once someone loses that, once they throw that away, they don't get it back. So let them go. Let them believe whatever helps them sleep at night. Let them convince themselves that they were right to walk away, right to take you for granted, right to doubt you. Because time will show them what words never could. And when that moment comes, when they finally see the truth, don't even look back. Because by then, you will have moved forward. By then, you will have found people who never needed to lose you to realize your worth. And those are the people who deserve you.